You won't believe number one firearm breakthrough just shattered 90 years of government control. The ATF has officially admitted defeat in federal court, and a revolutionary short-barreled firearm is now completely exempt from NFA restrictions. No tax stamps, no registration, no begging permission from bureaucrats. This isn't theory. It's happening right now, and the implications will blow your mind. Hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about gun laws forever. Music. The impossible legal victory, the impossible legal victory. The ATF just admitted they were wrong for nearly a decade. And one company proved that beating federal gun laws isn't just possible, it's profitable. Franklin Armory spent over $1.2 million in legal fees and 8 grueling years in federal court. But they didn't just win. They obliterated the government's case so thoroughly that judges had no choice but to rewrite how short-barreled firearms are classified forever. Federal District Court Judge William Orrick didn't just rule in their favor. He essentially called the ATF's interpretation legally incompetent. But here's what most gun owners still don't understand about this victory. It wasn't won through traditional legal arguments about constitutional rights. The real bombshell lies in how they exploited a technical loophole that's been hiding in plain sight for 91 years. The 91-year-old loophole nobody noticed, 91-year-old loophole nobody noticed. Since 1934, every gun manufacturer, lawyer, and ATF agent missed a glaring weakness in how federal law defines rifles versus other firearms. The National Firearms Act specifically states that rifles must fire only a single projectile through a rifled bore. For simple words, that became the key to unlocking NFA exemption for millions of potential firearms. Franklin Armory's engineers realized that if a firearm can shoot both single projectiles and multi-projectile ammunition, like 410 shotgun shells, it technically falls outside the legal definition of a rifle entirely. The ATF's own technical division confirmed this firearm shoots 45 Colt cartridges for 10 Bohat shells, duplex rounds, and snake shot, making it legally impossible to classify as a traditional rifle under existing statutes. What makes this absolutely brilliant is that the same rifle barrel technology works, but the ammunition capability changes everything legally. The ammunition loophole explosion, the ammunition loophole explosion. Right now, dozens of firearms manufacturers are racing to redesign existing rifles to fire multi-projectile ammunition and escape NFA regulation completely. The legal precedent established by Franklin Armory means any firearm capable of shooting both traditional bullets and shot shells can potentially claim NFA exemption, and the ATF cannot legally challenge these designs without contradicting their own settlement agreement. Industry insiders report that major manufacturers like Ruger, Remington, and Savage are already developing short-barreled variants of popular hunting rifles. Rifles specifically designed to fire 410 shells alongside traditional cartridges. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives issued ATF open letter dated August 29, 2025, specifically stating they cannot regulate firearms that don't meet the statutory definition of rifles, shotguns, or pistols, creating a massive regulatory blind spot. The interstate travel revolution, For the first time since 1934, American gun owners can legally transport short-barreled, shoulder-fired weapons across all 50 states without federal paperwork, ATF notification, or risk of federal prosecution. The settlement agreement specifically prohibits the ATF from requiring Form 5320.20 applications for interstate transportation of these exempt firearms, meaning you can drive from California to New York with a 7.5 in barrel rifle and face zero federal restrictions. Previously, NFA firearms required advanced ATF approval for interstate travel, often taking 4 to 6 weeks for processing and carried felony penalties for violations. The new exempt status means these firearms transfer on standard Form 4473 background checks at any licensed dealer, eliminating the 6 to 12-month NFA approval process entirely. State laws still apply, but federal transportation restrictions that have trapped gun owners for decades are completely eliminated for these specific firearms. But the most significant impact of this ruling extends far beyond just transportation laws. It's fundamentally changing how the firearms industry approaches product development. The manufacturing gold rush. Franklin Armory's legal victory triggered an immediate $47 million surge in firearms industry investment, with major manufacturers scrambling to license multi-projectile technology and develop NFA exempt product lines. The company announced plans to license their Antithesis technology platform to other American manufacturers, potentially creating hundreds of new short-barreled firearms that bypass NFA regulations entirely. Industry analysts project this technology could generate over $200 million in new firearm sales within the next 18 months as consumers rush to purchase short-barreled rifles without NFA compliance costs. The elimination of $200 tax stamps per firearm makes these weapons significantly more affordable for average gun owners, while removing regulatory delays that previously discouraged purchases. The NFA domino effect beginning. This single legal victory created the first successful template for systematically dismantling National Firearms Act regulations through innovative design rather than constitutional challenges. The precedent established by Franklin Armory proves that technical compliance with statutory language can override ATF regulatory interpretations, opening multiple pathways for challenging other NFA restrictions on suppressors, machine guns, and destructive devices. Legal scholars studying the court documents identified at least 7 other areas where NFA statutory language contains similar technical ambiguities that could potentially be exploited through engineering innovation. The Firearms Regulatory Accountability Coalition, which supported Franklin Armory's case, reports receiving over 200 inquiries from manufacturers and inventors seeking to develop NFA exempt versions of currently regulated items. Federal court precedent now requires ATF to strictly interpret statutory definitions rather than applying broad regulatory authority, fundamentally limiting their ability to expand NFA classifications without explicit congressional action. The secret settlement terms. The confidential settlement agreement between Franklin Armory and the Department of Justice contains provisions that extend far beyond just these 2 specific firearms, potentially affecting future ATF regulatory decisions for years to come. According to legal filings obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests, the settlement includes language requiring ATF to establish formal technical review procedures for firearms that don't clearly fit existing statutory categories. The agreement also mandates that ATF cannot retroactively reclassify firearms already approved for commercial sale without following new due process requirements, protecting manufacturers from arbitrary regulatory changes. Most significantly, the settlement establishes a legal framework where firearms manufacturers can request pre-classification determinations for innovative designs before investing in production, reducing regulatory uncertainty that has plagued the industry for decades. The constitutional bypass strategy. Franklin Armory achieved what decades of Second Amendment litigation couldn't accomplish. They bypassed constitutional arguments entirely and beat the federal government using their own laws against them. Rather than challenging the NFA's constitutionality in court, which has failed repeatedly for 90 years, they proved that innovative engineering could make federal regulations technically inapplicable to new firearms designs. This strategy sidesteps the Supreme Court's reluctance to broadly interpret Second Amendment protections while achieving identical practical results for gun owners seeking short-barreled firearms. Constitutional law professors studying this case note that technical compliance victories are significantly harder for future administrations to reverse through regulatory changes or executive orders. The time for waiting is over. Outro, we're witnessing the beginning of the end for unconstitutional gun control. Together, we can restore the rights our founding fathers died to secure one legal victory at a time. Subscribe now and help us fight for the America our founders envisioned.